What's going on YouTube? It's Tej, back again with another video, and today I'm giving you my Week 7 NFL Power Rankings. Excited to talk some football with you all. Hopefully you all enjoyed today's video. If you do, help me out, hit that like button. It helps my video get out there, helps people see my channel, helps us find new people to talk football with. And if you are new to the channel, hit that big red subscribe button for more football content in your life. And join me down in the comment section. Who do you think I have too high? Who do I have too low? Where am I crazy? Love to have your thoughts down in the comment section. Let's talk some football. Without further ado, let's jump right into it. Things will be pretty quick here at the bottom, because for the most part, it's just shuffling around the lines, Texans and Jags. Jags win a game finally. Congratulations. They're undefeated overseas. They move up 2 spots, number 30. Texans move down 1 spot. They got obliterated by the Colts. And the Lions, lone winless team in the NFL. Therefore, you kind of have to go 32. Jets, Giants. Jets were on a bye week. Giants, embarrassing loss. Dolphins play the Jags close, but they lose to a previously winless team. Falcons on a bye. Eagles lose to the defending champs. I feel comfortable with where these teams are already lined up. Maybe if you're a fan of these teams, you feel like you should be higher or there should be more movement here. But these teams are either on bye or they lost games. And I don't know. I just like the way they're seated. So quickly, we are already on to team number 24. The Washington football team and the Chicago Bears both staying pat, losing to a pair of really good football teams. Washington, I feel like you really should have run the football more down the stretch, right? You were up 13-10. You were in a position to kind of bleed the clock and be the driver of that game script. But instead, felt like they gave Taylor Heinicke too many opportunities to throw the game away. And not necessarily that he did, but the result kind of speaks for itself, right? It wasn't even close in the second half. But it feels like if Washington was able to commit to and establish a solid running attack, it would have helped balance this game out and potentially hold off for the upset despite being at home. And it's kind of like the Philadelphia Eagles where, hey, I'm all for the NFL moving in a more pass-heavy direction than it already is, taking advantage of first and second downs with your long yardage. Why would you hand it off and just make it a little bit less long yardage? But go ahead and air it out. But the strength of the Eagles comes down to the running attack, and Washington had a chance to try to bleed the clock out. And I know Antonio Gibson was hurt, but still have some other options there. I don't know. To me, feels like they could have done more within a rushing attack. Bears coming in at 23. You lose to the Packers, and you're apparently still owned by Aaron Rodgers. So it's already a tough week to be a Chicago fan. I'm not going to kick them while they're down. But additionally, I also just like them and where Washington's lined up compared to that other slew of teams that I have staying pat. Broncos down 6 spots, and yeah, Teddy Bridgewater just did not look all that good. He had some good box score stats, lots of yards, 3 touchdowns, but 3 interceptions. It's not necessarily all on him. There were some drop passes, some miscommunication in there as well. But it looks like Denver is crashing back down to earth. The defense is solid, but even the secondary has had its problems, which just doesn't make any sense because coming into the season we talked about how that's this team's biggest strength. And right now, it's one of its bigger weaknesses. So Denver is definitely struggling. They're down 6 spots. New England down a pair of spots as well. I know that was a heartbreaking loss for New England fans to watch because I've just seen my team lose games like that. And I know it hurts. So no joy in moving the Pats down a couple spots. They hung tough against a really good Cowboys team. But the result speaks for itself. You're just a couple of plays away. I think Damian Harris ran the ball well. And Mac Jones stood out. And I don't want to say he went throw for throw with Dak, but not far off from it, right? And that's a really encouraging sign as a rookie. So despite the loss, I think there's still some positives moving forward. That's a really good 2-4 football team as well. Colts move up a spot. Would have loved to move them up more, but the standings above them just kind of permitted me from doing that. Additionally, you got a big blowout win, but it was against Houston, and it was with Davis Mills looking a little bit closer to what we think Davis Mills is. So, let's not get too far away from ourselves. The Colts did look pretty good, and now they're starting to get some momentum. This Sunday night football game against the 49ers becomes huge. They win that game, they're right back in the playoff mix. Carolina Panthers down 2 spots. This is what I was trying to tell Carolina fans. And I'm not saying the season's over. There's still a chance. But Sam Darnold is just, this is who he is. He's going to make bad decisions. He's going to try to make throws that he can't. And, he's going to get your team and your offense in specific into some trouble. But he also has moments where he looks really promising. So I understand the fool's gold that Sam Darnold can be. First 3 games didn't look bad. And that last drive to force the game into overtime, that was a thing of beauty. And you're like, okay, well, shoot, if Sam Darnold could do that all the time, he'd be pretty good. But that's where the problem lies. He can't do that all the time. And eventually, that's going to put the defense in bad spots, and then your biggest strength as a team, that defensive side of the ball, is going to get left in some tough situations, and it's going to get left up to dry, and then it kind of takes away that advantage you have on that side of the ball. You're 3-3. You're not. The season's not over, but it's far from the days of people telling me the Panthers were a top 5 team. No, I'd say that much. Seahawks come in at number 18, and I said it in last week's video. They were going to fall down even more from 15. I just need to see a full game of what it looked like with Geno Smith, and it's not that Geno Smith was abhorrent. It wasn't god-awful. It's not like you need to replace him, like they have to go out and sign Cam Newton or anything like that. Smith was fine. But really, where Seattle made a difference in the second half was with that duo rushing attack and just pushing Pittsburgh into the ground, and Alex Collins was running all over that Steelers defense. And that's what ultimately got Seattle back into this game, despite being down 14-0. That and the Steelers just... it must be in their genetic DNA as a team to get out to a big first half lead and then squander it in the second half. It's been going on for years now, and I don't know why that always happens, but happened again, able to pull it off in overtime. And, I don't want to sing the praises of Big Ben because, I've been pretty harsh on him, and a lot of people have been letting it known that they think that he's washed. This week was a little bit closer to what we think of when we think of Big Ben, right? Like, he was moving around the pocket a little bit. He shrugged off a couple of dudes, made some throws. There was a little bit there that was vintage Big Ben, and it was interesting. Still a lot of short throws and not a great, A-dot or anything like that, but there were a few plays that kind of brought me back as a Steelers fan, nostalgic, pulling on my heartstrings. But big win there from the Steelers despite having to sweat it out, and that game really shouldn't have gone to overtime because that's Russell Wilson. That game's not even close, but Pittsburgh able to take advantage of it being Geno Smith nonetheless. And we're on to the top 16. Minnesota Vikings up 3 spots. Things are starting. I want to say things are getting better, but God, this team just finds a way to make it all that much closer. It's just like unnecessarily tight games. And then Kirk Cousins finds a way to get you through. Kirk Cousins, again, is playing fantastic. I've been saying it all season long. And so have many others. I'm not trying to take credit that I don't deserve there, but when he's playing well, that offense is really tough to spot, especially with a healthy Dalvin Cook in the mix. But even Alexander Mattison is more than serviceable to do the job. Man, it just feels like this defense knows how to crumble in just the right ways late in contests, and that's just something Mike Zimmer, given his background, cannot let happen. So he's still got some work he's got to do on that side of the ball, especially considering his son is like the DC. You got to think that's where his focus is. Anyways, so if Minnesota can continue to patch up that defensive side of the ball, I think they will be an okay team. They'll be in the playoff mix. But it feels like playoffs is about the ceiling for this team, at least as I see it right now. And same thing could be said about Cincinnati at number 15. This is a nice, heartwarming story. I think it's going to start to come down to reality soon enough, right? I don't think this is a team that's going to go 10, 11 wins this year, probably close to that 500 mark. So the schedule is going to get a little tougher moving forward, and I think that's going to share some of those results. And it's nice to see Carolina be a little ahead of schedule, and it was nice to see Denver be surprising early on, even though those first 3 games were all ones that the Broncos were favored in regardless. Now you look at the Bengals, and it's like, oh, that's a really nice, heartwarming story, but how long can they stay in this realm? Because again, I'm not completely sold on Zach Taylor, the defense. I still worry about the secondary outside of Jesse Bates, so I have my problems with this team, but hey, they're winning games, and they're a lot of fun to watch because of Jamar Chase and Joe Burrow and that offense overall. So Bengals coming at 15, Browns down 3 spots at 14. I still think the Browns are better than the Bengals, but yeah, another tough loss for Cleveland, and it came in a week where it wasn't close. At least you could say you went punch for punch with the Chargers this week. There was nothing to be said of any of that nature against Arizona. The Cardinals were clearly the better team, and I know no Nick Chubb, right? And then Kareem Hunt goes down with a big injury in that game. So Cleveland's thin, and then you got the Baker Mayfield situation where he's got a banged up shoulder. It's the Browns are not at 100%. I totally get that. But no team in football is at this point. And even if Cleveland is a little bit more banged up than Arizona, their injuries do not speak for 20-plus point differential. There weren't that many injuries, right? So still a good Browns football team. But now I'm starting to get the image or the idea that they're too reliant on some of their big players and stars and overall their concept. I think if you guys know who the Goat House is, he did a good job talking about how when Cleveland gets games to go into their script, they can beat just about anybody. But if it goes off plan and things go away, from what they want and how the game to look, then things get really murky. So definitely go check out the Goat House. He does great work. But really found that to be tried and true again this week for Cleveland. So they're down 3 more spots at number 14. San Francisco was on their bye week, so they're staying at number 13. Really excited to see them play the Colts this week, though. Raiders, what a bounce back performance, right? And you could tell a week ago against Chicago that the John Gruden situation was lingering over this team. And honestly, I didn't think that getting rid of Gruden was going to be something that they could immediately snap to and be back on track or anything like that. I thought there would be even more carryover and more lingering nature to that whole situation. But hey, they looked really good this week. And on the road, I mean, it's never easy to win one away from your home confines. I know Denver, like I just said earlier, they're not as good as the 3-0 might have made them out to be to start the year, but that's not a bad football team, and it's not an easy team to beat in Denver either. So, especially earlier in the year, so that's a really solid win there for the Raiders to get back on track. And Henry Ruggs made some big plays. Derek Carr was pushing the ball down the field. The offensive line overall held up, right? Like 6 of the 12 pressures for Denver were Von Miller, and Von Miller's still a good football player. He's going to get his, but outside of that, it was a pretty stellar pass blocking effort for the Raiders. And this offensive line is still a concern, but they did what they could to try to minimize the amount that Denver pass rush could affect Derek Carr in that offense in this game. So because of that, they came out on top, and they're up 2 spots. Tennessee, what a Monday Night Football game. NFL primetime just does not let us down. Titans win in a barn burner. They move up 1 spot, and, I was really impressed by the Titans' performance. A.J. Brown had a big game. It's good to see Julio Jones back out there and making some nice catches. And Ryan Tannehill's just put the ball wherever. 3 rushing touchdowns from Derrick Henry. That man's unbelievable. But I'm not quite ready to put him up and above the Saints and the Chiefs and the teams in my top 8. So the Titans might have expanded the window of teams I see as really good and have a pathway towards the Super Bowl. I'm not completely there yet with the Titans, but I'm starting to reopen that door. It's becoming ajar once again. But I'm not entirely sure I like them more than the Saints, who come in at 10. Holding pat there. And then Kansas City figured it out a little bit against Washington, but I'm not comfortable to move them up and above my top 8, who I really like. So let's talk about that top 8. Chargers down 4 spots. They also beat Kansas City, so everybody's telling me, hey, this team beat that team. That's, how it should work. Okay, I'll take your advice here. On this occasion, the Chargers did beat the Chiefs, so I keep them just ahead of Kansas City. They are down 4 spots, and it was really disappointing, their performance against Baltimore. Now, that said, I think this is definitely the low end of their potential variances, right? Like, this is about as bad as it could have gone because Herbert looked off. He was missing some throws. The offensive line didn't play good. The running game couldn't be established. The 4th down decisions didn't pan out like they had in the 2 weeks prior. The defense didn't look all that good. It didn't necessarily look all that bad, right? A couple picks from Lamar Jackson, less than 200 yards passing. He only had 50, 60 rushing yards, too. It's not like Lamar Jackson was gaudy and took over like he did against the Colts. But that said, the Ravens still found a way to beat them, despite that being Lamar Jackson's stat line. And a couple of factors into that are those turnovers and then the turnover on downs, right? Like, some of those things that just haven't been characteristics of the Chargers up until this point came arise in this game. So we'll see. Now it forces you to re-look and examine that sample size and say, okay, where is the true outcome? Where's the median in this? What can I actually believe in? So now we have to take a step back and reassess where we stand on the Chargers. I still think they're a really good football team, though. I think they're going to be really well coached, and they're not going to miss every 4th down, ideally. I think there's enough talent on that team. But Mike Williams gets shut down by Marlon Humphrey. Keenan Allen been a little slow out to start. A lot of people are saying he's been disappointing this year, especially in the fantasy world. Maybe this is a team that goes out and tries to make a push for another wide receiver, speed, quick, agile. If Cole Beasley was available, I feel like this guy, that he would fit what this team needs. Is that quick, shifty slot guy to just kind of open up some more things, but they could also use another burner, right? So maybe it's someone like Brandon Cooks who can do a little bit of both, but that price is obviously a little bit higher than someone like Cole Beasley, which I don't think Beasley's available for trade. Anyways, we're getting down a rabbit hole. I still like the Chargers. I think they could add one more piece there on the offensive side, though. Dallas, I have them standing pat here at 7. That was an emotional win. Good to see Dak Prescott is okay. Good time for the bye week, but I just didn't want to move them up and above the Packers and the Rams just yet. I think they're still half a step behind as it looks right now. Pick 6 from Trevon Diggs. I know a lot of people are talking about that, then followed by the double move. Honestly, I think that was just a really nice pass from Mac Jones, and then Damontae Kazee has come out and said, and a lot of other people have noted that should have been like a 20, 30-yard play, and then Kazee is ultimately the reason he misses the assignment, becomes a tutty. But that's kind of the boomer bust nature of playing cornerback. And I don't know. If you saw my quarter season awards, also we'll talk about this, Herbert and the Chargers. I had Herbert as my MVP. Now it's firmly Kyler Murray, who we'll talk about here in a second. And I still think I stand by Trevon Diggs as my defensive player of the year. Just because, yeah, he may give up a lot of yards and he'll get beat for big plays. But I think that's just the cornerback position, and the way the league is moving is can you create takeaways? Can you get the ball out of their hands and put it into our offense's hands? And Diggs has obviously done that very well. He has even got 2 pick sixes. So he's done the work for the offense as well. So I don't know. I stand behind Diggs for right now as my defensive player of the year pick. Packers down a spot at 6. Rams up 1. Look, these two teams are neck and neck. Call it a tie for 5th if you want. Dominating win for the Rams. Packers, it's a little bit or even keel to the very end, and then Rodgers, of course, puts it away, taunts the crowd. Great stuff there. It gave me goosebumps watching it. You just don't see that a whole lot in the NFL. So that emotion and the aspect that it can bring out. So these two teams are pretty much the same, but I shuffled around this week also because, I didn't do a whole lot of changing down at the bottom. Got to look like I actually did some work this week. Ravens up 4 spots, basically trading places with the Chargers. Look, it was dominating, right? And like I said, they didn't need Lamar Jackson to be a superhero. So that's really impressive that Baltimore found a different way to win this game. And really, it was just a vintage Ravens defensive performance, right? Like, this was shades of, Ed Reed and Ray Lewis, and also Deshaun Elliott. Can we just talk about how fantastic he played, especially in the first half? Felt like he was everywhere. I actually was casting this game with the Blitz Predicts and one of his friends. I'll leave their links down in the description. Definitely go check it out if you wanted to hear us talking some football as it was going on, or just check out my boy Nathan. He's a really cool guy. But with the Ravens, it's just a dominating performance, and it felt like in the first half, all we were talking about was Deshaun Elliott. He's everywhere. He's getting the pick. He's making this tackle at the line of scrimmage. So he had a ball-out performance, and if he continues to play that well and that Baltimore defensive scheme that relies a lot on those safeties to do just a little bit of everything, that's a really positive sign moving forward for this Ravens defense. Bills down 2 spots after the loss. Maybe it could have moved them down more, but that game was close, and prime time games, they can be weird. They can kind of play out in a lot of different ways. So maybe you want to see me move the Ravens ahead of the Bills, especially after they dominate the Chiefs. I think there's an argument there, but I still think I like the Bills just a smidge more. And then the Buccaneers up a spot to number 2. And you know what? This was the week. I'm hopping on the bandwagon. Cardinals fans, I'm right here with you. The Cardinals are my number 1 team, and Kyler Murray is my MVP. I had it as Justin Herbert for the first 5 weeks. It's a week-by-week league. After week 6, I'm feeling comfortable anointing Kyler Murray as my MVP. He's just a dog. Some of the throws he made this week, and then seeing him get hyped up afterwards, you can't help but like the intensity he plays with. And dude, he can just do it in so many different ways. And this game really wasn't close. And especially if you take away the Hail Mary that Donovan Peoples-Jones catches at the half, this game is not even close, right? So overall, fantastic effort, and I have to shout out my guy, Vance Joseph. I've been saying his name the past couple of weeks as my coordinator of the year, and now this week, of course, with Cliff Kingsbury getting COVID, which that makes this win even more impressive in my eyes. But regardless, the fact that Vance Joseph was the interim head coach, he started to get talked about a little bit more. But up until this point, I feel like nobody was really mentioning him, but obviously he's doing a stellar job. That defense is vastly overperforming based off of everyone's priors. I don't care if you're a fan of this team and all the defense can be solid. You didn't think it would be this good. So Vance Joseph deserves a ton of credit. So does Kyler Murray. He's my MVP. And with the weapons around him, it might be tough to knock him off the top of the mountain. But that's going to do it for my Week 7 NFL Power Rankings. Tell me what you think down in the comment section. Who do I have too high? Who do I have too low? Should I have had people rising or falling more? Love to have your thoughts. Let's talk some football down in the comment section. And hey, if you're new to the channel, like what you saw, want more football content in your life, hit that big red subscribe button. And hopefully you all enjoyed today's video. If you did, hit that like button. It would help me and my channel out a ton. That's going to do it for today's video. Hope you all have a fantastic rest of your day. Until next time, my name is Tej, and I'm signing off.